Sunday, airport, airplane, hotel, job site. If you've seen the movie Up in the Air, you have an idea of what my life is like. I don't have to fire people like George Clooney's character, but I travel all over North America and Europe too for work. I'm a consultant. That means I'm an expert who companies hire to help them solve problems. Honestly, it still surprises me that big companies pay me to visit their offices and factories to tell them what they might be doing wrong. I handle the work while on the road, and my partner Tim does the behind-the-scenes work like finances from home. Since I was young, I've been interested in failure. My studies focused on why companies fail and how it happens. I learned so much about failure that now companies around the world call me to explain why they're struggling and how to get better. It makes sense, then, that while I'm an expert on business failures, my personal life is not so great. Tonight, I'm lying in a comfortable bed at the Queen Elizabeth Hotel in downtown Montreal. This client is closer to home, so I took the train instead of flying. The client insisted on putting me in that famous fancy hotel, and even though my report might point out their wasteful spending, I wasn't going to refuse the nice stay. I live in a small apartment near Toronto's Pearson Airport. The best thing about it is that I'm close to the places I travel to most airports and first-class lounges on airlines. Tonight, I decided to stay in and work on my report for this client. The last report I wrote was for a company in Memphis, I think. When I first started consulting almost 10 years ago, I tried to explore the cities I visited. I wanted to see museums, galleries, and eat at good restaurants. But now, after turning 40, I've stopped trying to enjoy the cities. I treat them all the same, just places to get my work done. I've been in New Orleans during Mardi Gras and Munich for Oktoberfest, but I've stayed apart from the celebrations. This is my life now. Suddenly I heard a quiet sound from the next room. It was soft, but it caught my attention. I put my laptop down on the bed, got up, and turned off the fan that was running in my room. Everything went quiet. A moment later, I heard the sound again. It seemed like someone in the room next door was having a private moment. I quietly thought about the situation and decided to focus back on my work. How long has it been since I last had a close moment with someone? I wondered quietly to myself. Even as I reached early middle age, I still felt strong feelings. I often spent time alone, keeping busy with my own company. I didn't usually try to meet people for short times when I traveled, and I wasn't the kind of man to look for paid company. My life was too busy for a relationship. I thought back. I couldn't remember exactly where I was, but I had a faint memory of meeting a blonde woman with a child a few months ago. She was a little older than me, and we had met in the hotel bar. Was that the last time? I didn't even remember her name or much else, except for her short skirt and low-cut top. She had been sitting alone, holding a drink, her blue eyes watching me, clearly inviting attention. For me, close moments only happened when they were easy. I heard a soft sound from the next room. I saved the work I was doing on my laptop, closed it, and quietly moved myself to listen better. I had always been a bit curious about others. Hearing noises from next door was one of the few small joys of my traveling life. Compared to some loud memories, the woman next door was quiet. I couldn't hear anyone else's voice or loud sounds from the bed. It seemed she was simply enjoying a simple, private moment, not putting on a show or trying to hide anything. As I listened, I felt excitement build up again. I tried to be as quiet as I could, not wanting to disturb her. Sometimes, when this happened, I would try to match my timing with the sounds next door. It didn't happen often, but I wished it did. This time, I reached my moment just a few seconds before I heard her soft, familiar breath. Her sound suddenly brought back memories I'd tried very hard not to think about. Amy Callahan, and also my ex-wife. 10 years earlier. It should have been the best day of my life. Lisa and I had been married for 4 years and together for longer. We were ready. It was our first child. We had met in college and seemed to have everything going well. We had good jobs, married, bought a house, and were finally ready to start a family. I took her to the hospital after her water broke. After 2 hours of labor, with me by her side, she gave birth to a healthy, beautiful baby girl. The baby weighed 7 pounds and had bright eyes, a full head of hair, and smooth, dark skin. This was surprising because both of us were white. Soon, the truth came out. Lisa had been seeing a man from Brazil named Sergio for over a year, and the baby was his. I left the hospital, and later that night, after she tearfully admitted what I already knew, I stopped speaking to her except through our lawyers or in court. By the time she got home, I had moved all my things out of the house, and I started the divorce process. I wasn't angry or trying to hurt her. To be honest, I didn't really allow myself to feel much. I walked around like I was in a daze for months. I agreed to split things fairly and wasn't interested in punishing her more. I heard from friends that she was already feeling guilty. I ignored her many desperate calls to talk or try to fix things. I wasn't in love with her anymore and knew I never would be. I just wanted to leave the lie I hadn't known I was living in behind me. The divorce went smoothly, but there was one more problem. Amy. She was Sergio's fiancée. The small bit of revenge I let myself have was to find Amy on social media the first night and tell her about Sergio's cheating. She thanked me, and soon their engagement ended. They also ended up dealing with legal matters and splitting up. In an unexpected turn during this time, Amy and I became close. We kept it a secret. Family courts don't look kindly on cheating, so both of us had some advantage in our cases because Sergio and Lisa cheated first. Even though we met only after our relationships had ended, a good lawyer might have claimed we were just as guilty. We were afraid of being found out since we couldn't prove we hadn't spent more time together. You can't prove something never happened. Even so, we kept getting close. We were two broken people trying to heal from the worst experiences of our lives by finding comfort in each other. Being with Amy felt powerful and helped release some of the pain. She knew how to connect deeply, and we shared a closeness I hadn't experienced before or since. She was also the most beautiful woman I had ever been with, so far beyond what I thought I could have. I could hardly believe that someone like her had ever been interested in a guy like me. After both our legal issues were finally settled, we stopped seeing each other. The court cases had lasted almost a year, and when they ended, we were both ready to stop sneaking around and move on with our lives. She moved out west. I started my own consulting business, and I hadn't talked to her in nearly 10 years. I realized I was crying on the bed, feeling a rush of emotions. I quickly pulled myself together, cleaned up, and took a long shower. The woman in the room next to mine, whoever she was, had been making sounds that reminded me a lot of Amy's. That was enough to make all my feelings rush back. What a mess I was. After the shower, I got into bed and fell asleep, feeling sad. The next morning, I had to visit a client and couldn't be late. Monday, I woke up with the alarm and got dressed quickly. I put on my dark Armani suit, a silk tie, wingtip shoes, and my nice dress watch. I packed my laptop into my briefcase and looked in the mirror. My sandy hair had been cut last week and looked neat. My face was clean-shaven, and everything was in place. I looked good. I saw a little sadness in my brown eyes, but I still looked ready for whatever came my way, which was important for first meetings. I left my room and walked toward the elevator. Just as I reached the end of the hall, I heard a door open behind me. I turned around, and there she was. Amy! She hadn't changed at all. She still had the slim, fit figure she did back then. Her professional pantsuit showed her shape well. Her long, dark hair was cut much like I remembered, with bangs over her forehead. Her pale skin had freckles that showed her Irish background. But the thing I noticed first and was completely caught up in was her eyes. I had never forgotten how beautiful they were, but seeing them again after 10 years took my breath away. They were hazel, though that didn't fully describe them. In different lights, they looked green, brown, blue, or even yellow. She had barely aged, and those 10 years hadn't cooled the strong feeling I still had for her. "Michael?" Her voice showed she recognized me right away, but then a flicker of panic appeared. She fumbled with her key card, as if she wanted to step back inside and disappear. So it was her I had heard last night, I thought. I should have known. I could recognize that sound anywhere. Sometimes, I even hear it in my dreams. How have you been?" I asked, feeling a little awkward. Amy stopped what she was doing as if she knew she couldn't leave. "Oh, I'm okay. What about you?" She quickly got herself together and walked toward me and the elevator, which I could hear was coming. "Yeah, not bad." We looked at each other with the nervous feeling of two kids at a school dance, not sure what to say. The elevator dinged. "What brings you to Montreal?" I asked as the door opened. "A conference. You?" "A visit to a client's site. I'm here all week, and you?" "Same, until Friday. Are you here alone?" "Always. I work by myself consulting." "How about you?" "There are many people I know at the conference, but I'm here alone." Maybe she was just keeping to herself last night, I thought. I hadn't heard a man through the wall, and she seemed alone this morning. The Amy I remembered usually spent time alone before bed. Even if we had spent time together the night before, she often needed that quiet moment for herself afterward. I also thought I might hear her again during the week unless she had changed. And I felt a small thrill as the elevator went down. But suddenly, I felt I might not see her again once the elevator reached the ground, unless I made the first move. So I spoke up. "Would you like to have dinner or something? It's been such a long time, and I'm sure we have a lot to talk about." Amy looked back at me with a hesitant expression. "Do you really think that's a good idea?" "I've missed you," I said honestly. I didn't realize how much until I saw her now, but even just smelling her brought back feelings. "Yeah, I've missed you too, but I'm still not sure if we should." The elevator door opened, revealing the grand lobby of the Queen Elizabeth Hotel. We stepped out. "Well, you know where to find me if you want," I said, hopeful. "I'm in room 1407, which I think is next to yours. I have dinner plans tonight with a client, but I should be free in the evenings the rest of the week." Amy nodded. "There's a big gala opening the conference tonight that I have to go to, but maybe. I'm free the rest of the week, too." "Can I hug you?" I asked. She hesitated, but then wrapped her arms around me. I took a deep breath, taking in the familiar smell of her hair. I had missed being close to her. She just felt right, her head fitting perfectly on my shoulder. I started to step away, but she stopped me. "It's good to see you, Michael," she finally said. "It's a surprise to see you without warning, but it's good, too." "Can we have dinner tomorrow night?" she asked. "Sounds good. Are you still using the same number?" She nodded. "Yeah. You?" "Me too. Send me a text tomorrow and we'll plan something," I said. That was the end of our talk. I watched her walk away, noticing her skirt as she left. The work visit that day was just like any other, except I couldn't focus and kept thinking about her. I was visiting a medium-sized factory whose business was shrinking because of competition from other companies. From what I had read before, their problems were textbook examples. It was a family business run by the third generation, who didn't really understand how the business worked or how to keep it going. There was resistance from the workers' union, old machines, too many managers, and a company culture that wasn't open to change. I could have given them a report I wrote for another company, and it would have been the same. Their problems could be fixed, but often the people at the top didn't want to hear it. I knew many past clients just ignored the advice after paying me. I didn't mind much, as long as I got paid. Most of my day was spent visiting their main office and factory near the airport. Nothing I saw changed my first impression. They were a typical case that probably didn't need an expensive consultant. Then, the CEO, COO, and CFO, two brothers and a cousin, took me to dinner at Joe Beef, one of Montreal's best restaurants. I had been looking forward to this at least. I came back late, full from the rich food, fine wine, and cocktails. I went straight to bed listening for Amy, hoping to hear from her. But it was quiet all night, and I felt a little let down. Tuesday, I woke to the sound of the shower next door. Half asleep, I remembered one of the many times Amy and I had shared a moment in the shower. I pictured her there, but held myself back from acting on my feelings. Instead, I got out of bed and started getting dressed. Today's visit was to the company's warehouse far north in Stoustache. A car waited for me at the hotel, and I was driven there quietly. I thought about texting Amy, just like I had many times over the past 10 years, but I didn't send anything. I'm not sure why. Maybe I was scared. Of what? I have no idea. I thought about her all day while I was shown around the warehouse. The warehouse was far from the main offices and factory. Compared to the rest, it was very well organized, and the boss there was a friendly man from Quebec with good common sense. He wasn't part of the family that owned the business, which was just right. The warehouse should have made more money than it did. I made a note to ask my partner Tim to check why that was. At the end of the day, I was stuck in heavy traffic going back downtown when I finally decided to send her a message. I wrote, "I should be free by 7 Sao. When do you want to meet?" After a few minutes, she replied, "I can meet anywhere. There's a small restaurant in Vieux-Port I've heard is good. Want to go there?" I said yes. After a quick stop at the hotel to freshen up, I took a long walk through the old city, feeling nervous while waiting for 70s. I arrived at the restaurant just on time. I saw Amy sitting at a table lit softly by candles. Romantic, I thought. I sat down. I wondered if she planned it that way. "So, how have you been?" I asked. "I've been good," she said. "You?" "Yeah, good enough." We looked at each other. How do you begin after not seeing someone for 10 years? It felt both easy and strange at the same time. A waiter came and filled our water glasses. I ordered a bottle of red wine. "So, what's your conference about?" I asked. "Women in the trades," she answered. "It's a meeting meant to get more women interested in jobs mostly done by men." "That sounds cool. How did you get into that?" "I am an electrician." I looked at her with surprise. "That's great, and not what I expected. Last time I knew you, you worked in an office. What made you choose electrical work? You studied physics, didn't you?" Amy smiled for the first time, and it was like a warm light. Her teeth were just as white as I remembered. "Well, I went to university because most kids in middle-class families do. I liked physics, and I enjoyed my degree. But then I worked in an office job I didn't like. The only jobs for physics people were in schools or labs, and I didn't want that life. To be honest, I never liked research much. I always liked working with my hands. One day about 8 years ago, I had a small electrical problem at home. I watched a video online to fix it, and it felt like I found something new. I went to trade school, then got an apprenticeship. And do you know something?" I smiled at her. "What?" "Do you know how many women out there wish they could find a female tradesperson, if only they existed? Since I started working on my own, my schedule has been full. Every client I have is a woman who is happy to find another woman who can come to their home, solve their problem, and treat them with respect. I'm making good money doing what I love. More women could do the same if people guided high school graduates toward careers like this instead of pushing everyone to go only to university." "That's really great," I said honestly. "I'm happy for you. Do you still live in Vancouver?" "No, I'm in Kelowna now," she said. "The cost of living is cheaper, and I was never really into big cities. What about you? You said you do consulting?" "Yes. When we met, I think I was working as a junior executive for a car company." She nodded. "After Lisa and I split up, I didn't want to stay in Kitchener, so I started my own consulting company. I travel all over the world, helping clients understand why their business isn't doing well and what they can do to fix it." I told her more about my consulting work. "That sounds like fun with all that travel," she said. "I used to really like it," I said, "but after a few years it can get tiring. For me, this is the first time I'm really traveling for work, and I even pay my own way sometimes, but I write off my expenses as business costs." "I do that too," I said, But it's easier when clients pay for your expenses as part of your fees. Are you here for the conference because you care about this topic? Of course. No one forced me to come. I want to learn how to help more young women follow this path, and meeting people is very useful. I'm meeting a lot of strong women here, and it's nice to stay in a good hotel. For me, traveling like this is a way of life. It stops feeling fun after a while. I don't even really think of having a home anymore. This is just what I do. At least I can charge dinner tonight to a client. That's kind of you. Are you sure they won't notice? I thought a moment. From what I've seen about their spending, no chance. And I know you won't tell. Going through 2 breakups with you taught me one thing: you keep secrets. Amy looked thoughtful for a moment, then nodded and glanced at the menu again. You definitely can't get French food like this in Kelowna. Maybe you'll have the duck with orange sauce? Good choice. I think you'll have the cassoulet. The waiter came, and we placed our orders along with a bottle of red wine for the table. We raised our glasses. To failure, Amy said with a bright smile. The things that brought us together, and the things that keep me fed and dressed, I said. I drank with her. This was really good wine. So, I started again. Amy stared off into the distance. I see you're not wearing a ring. What's your situation? I finally asked. Single, she answered. You? Single too. She nodded slowly, thinking. When people are single in their late 30s, there's usually a reason. Do you want to tell first, or should I? I'm 40 now, I said. Wow, you are, aren't you? You're old. I keep forgetting you grew up when there was no color TV or indoor bathrooms. She smiled at me, and my heart warmed a little. That was the Amy I knew. I'm 4 years older than you, I told her. If I'm old, then you are too. Yeah, I'm old too. She sighed. Is it hard for you to think about that time back then, when we were kind of together? Yes and no, I said. Yes about everything except you. You were like the bright light in my life back then. I still think about you, and it makes me happy. Ugh, I forgot how sappy you can be. Gross. Amy smiled at me. You were good for me, too. But it's been a long time since I thought about you or Sergio. Seeing you in the hall yesterday brought it all back. Probably why I was so awkward. I thought that was just your natural awkwardness. Amy gave me a look and laughed. Yep. Couldn't be because you look so old and tired. I'm still good-looking, and you know it. Whatever. She smiled again. I smiled back. I miss sparring with you. It feels so easy, like we never missed a step after all these years, like finding an old pair of shoes that still fit perfectly. There you go, smooth talker, comparing a woman to old shoes. You must be very popular with that kind of charm. I tried to think of a reply, but couldn't. Amy's quick mind always surprised me. I looked into her hazel eyes and got lost again. She hadn't changed much. She looked a little older than when she was 26, but just a bit more mature, and could easily pass for still being in her 20s. Why don't you tell your why you're single story first? I finally asked. Sure. After Sergio, it took a long time to get better. He was my first real serious relationship, and I was broken after what happened. Even after you and I stopped seeing each other, I stayed single for a while, but I did heal and move on, and later I found another serious relationship. That went on for 7 years and ended about 5 months ago. Can I ask what happened? Sure. His name was Dan. He didn't want to get married or have kids, but I did. I think we both thought the other would change over time, but when I saw he wasn't going to, I had to choose between giving up on being a wife and mother or finding someone else. So, I ended it. I loved him, and I always will, but I couldn't change my long-term goals. I learned it's better to be clear about what you want early on, and you can't make someone change who they are. That's good advice. Since the breakup, I've dated some, but once you hit your 30s, many single men are single for a reason. I haven't found anyone worth settling down with, and honestly, I haven't tried too hard. How about you? I haven't been in a serious relationship since Lisa, I said. After we stopped seeing each other, I focused on my work. My life just doesn't fit well with settling down. I date casually, but haven't looked for anything serious. Amy frowned a little. I remember a big part of what hurt you was how happy you were to own a house, settle down, and become a dad. What changed? I don't know. After that dream fell apart, I just stopped chasing it. She thought for a moment. I won't let Sergio define me, but I divide my life into before him and after him. Before, I was following the path my parents wanted. Get a degree, buy a house, get married, raise a family. Since then, I've lived differently, more for myself and what makes me happy instead of what others expect. I love being the fun aunt to my sister's kids, but living in Kelowna means I don't see them as much as I wish. She's still in Scarborough? I asked. Amy nodded. Yes, and so are my parents. You seem like you've really moved on. I think so, she said. Then she looked at me. What about you? I paused. I haven't really. Are you happy? She asked gently. I don't know. Mostly, I guess. I do make good money. There's more to life than money, she said. What makes you happy? I thought about it. Honestly, I didn't have an answer. What about you? I asked after a quiet moment. I love my work, she said. I enjoy helping people and surprising them with what a woman can do. People don't expect a small girl like me to work in a trade job. I still enjoy my old hobbies too, going outside, camping, biking. Kelowna is the best place in the world for someone who just wants to go hiking in the mountains every weekend or go swimming in the lake. What about Ogopogo? I asked, thinking of the famous sea monster that people say lives in Okanagan Lake. Amy laughed quietly. He hasn't caught me yet. She looked at me again. What about you? What do you like to do now? I remember you liked fixing things and loved old movies. Do you still watch them? Or I remember we talked about going mountain biking together if we didn't have to keep our relationship a secret. Are you still into those things? I don't do fixing stuff much now because I rent my place. It's hard to make changes when you don't own it. I still have a bike, but I haven't used it in a long time, and movies. I guess sometimes. Mostly I watch them on long flights, but I don't have much time to watch alone. So what do you do when you're in your apartment alone? I'm hardly ever there, I said. It's mostly just a place to keep my things and do laundry. I don't spend much time in the apartment. We looked at each other for a moment, and then our appetizers arrived. French onion soup is the best, I said, as I broke the melted cheese on top. I agree, Amy replied. We blew on the hot soup for a while, trying to see when it was cool enough to eat. After a long, comfortable silence, I asked, should we talk about the past? She sighed deeply. I don't know, Michael. I always liked how we could support each other back then. But I've closed that part of my life now. You were good for me, but... She didn't finish her sentence. I wanted to text you so many times, I said quietly. I know you don't use social media much, but when you did post, I always saw it. I really missed you. I missed you too sometimes, she said, looking into her soup. You helped me through the hardest time in my life, and I'll always be glad we found each other then. I'm also glad you told me Sergio was being unfaithful. Without you, I would never have known. He was careful to hide everything. Lisa was just as careful, I said. If Sergio had been honest, I might still be married to her and raising a child I didn't know wasn't mine. We never really talked about those things back then, Amy said. Do you have any regrets? Any signs you missed? None, I said. I thought hard about it, trying to find clues I didn't see, but I don't think there were any. She never had strange texts or nights out without a reason. The only reason she got away with it for so long was because she worked in social services and knew how to keep things quiet. She worked unusual hours and often didn't have to be in an office. She had a work phone she used to talk with him, so I never thought to check it. Besides, I didn't usually look at her private phone either. Sergio, who ran a hotel, had an easy way to find a quiet, private place whenever he wanted, Amy remembered. Lisa wasn't even the only woman he was seeing. I'm just glad I never caught anything from all his being with other women. Do you think you missed any signs you should have noticed? Amy's face showed some pain, like remembering made her uncomfortable. I don't know. Looking back, there were late nights I didn't understand, or times when things felt off between us. But I trusted him. I loved him. When you love someone, you don't expect them to lie or hurt you. I had no reason to doubt him, and because of that, I forgave myself for not seeing it. Was therapy helpful? She nodded. Yes, it really was. Our main dishes arrived, and I poured us more wine. I've moved on now, Amy said as we started eating. My life is good. I have many friends. I've even been hiking in the jungles of Costa Rica and the mountains of Nepal. I put myself first now. I still want a husband and kids one day, but not just anyone. It will happen when the time is right. Not worried about running out of time? Now she was smiling again. Now you're just calling me old. Sure, I think about it sometimes, but I'm not willing to choose the wrong person just because of that. I also don't like the idea of raising kids alone or using a donor. That's understandable. I respect your ideas. It's nice to have clear goals. Do you have any goals besides growing your business? You look great in that suit, like it was made for you. I know how smart you are, and I'm sure you earn what you charge those people who want to save their businesses but won't make tough choices or cut back. But it feels like there's nothing else in your life. She looked closely at me, seeing the look on my face. Sorry if that sounded too direct. No, it's true. I'm a workaholic. I thought about saying more, but there wasn't anything else to say. Amy shrugged. Well, I hope you're happy anyway. You deserve it. You're a good man, Michael O'Doherty. Even though we haven't talked in a long time, I never stopped caring about you. I hope you get whatever you want from life. Thanks. I never stopped caring about you either. You're a good woman. I know. Thanks for saying that, I thought to myself, smiling quietly. I had forgotten how confident Amy could be, sometimes almost a bit proud. That had always been part of what I liked about her. So how did two single people end up at a cozy restaurant in Montreal together? Amy looked a little surprised, as if she hadn't thought about it before. What do you mean? I'm not saying anything, I quickly added. I miss you. I've never met anyone like you before or since, and I miss a lot about you. She took a big drink of her wine. You know I live in Kelowna and you live all over the place, right? And we had a short fling 10 years ago? Forget I said anything. I felt like I had messed it up. No, Michael, I won't forget, she said. The truth is, I wasn't sure about meeting with you tonight. I'm here because you once meant a lot to me, and because I thought closing an old, sad chapter would help me move on, but I look at you and nothing's changed. You still have that sparkle in your eyes that I loved. You're still good-looking, smart, and your voice is the same. You're still amazing, too, I said quickly. I forgot how much I loved your laugh, your quick mind, and how beautiful your eyes are. I have to stop myself from staring at you. I noticed, she smiled a little, but we were part of the hardest time in both our lives, and we have both moved on. Do you really want to reopen that part? Do you want the honest answer? No, she sighed. You were always kind and took great care of me, but I can't put myself through that again. I'm sorry. It's been so good to see you, but it took me a long time to heal, and I'm not ready to go back. The rest of dinner was quiet. We talked, but the easy feeling we once had was gone. A shadow seemed to fall between us as we finished our wine and dessert. I always found it hard to read her feelings, and now I felt even less sure about what she was thinking inside. I didn't know why I had tried to bring up the past after all this time, but I didn't regret it. Even after 10 years without contact, our connection was still strong, and I was still drawn to her. I put the meal on my clients tab, and Amy thanked me. We said goodbye in the hallway near the hotel rooms. I gave her a gentle kiss on the cheek and watched her go inside her room. I felt sad as I went into my own room. I took off my shoes and carefully removed my suit before lying down on the bed, wearing just a light shirt and shorts. It had been good to see Amy again. It had been a bit awkward at times, but it showed me that even after 10 years, the feelings I had for her were still strong. I could also tell that, even though she tried to hide it, she felt the same way about me. At the same time, I thought there was a chance I might never see her again, and that made me sad. As I lay in bed, I thought about the first time we met. I was shocked and refused to believe Lisa's betrayal. I kept trying to find any reason to believe that the child with brown skin could still be mine. But when Lisa saw her daughter for the first time, her face showed guilt and regret. It was clear then that the truth was out. After I got home from the hospital, Lisa called me and told me everything. She wanted to talk, but as soon as she confirmed what I already guessed, I hung up and blocked her number. Then, I looked through her Facebook friends and found a Brazilian man named Sergio. I checked his profile and saw he was engaged to someone named Amy Callaghan. I sent Amy a simple message to let her know something was wrong, without giving details. Amy agreed to meet me for coffee so I could tell her in person. She took the news quietly. I did not know her before, but it seemed like all the pieces in her mind suddenly made sense. I showed her the proof and left her to handle things as she saw fit. A few days later, I sent her a message just to check if she was okay. Amy had asked Sergio to leave and invited me over as a thank you. She made a simple dinner and offered to share some beer with me. I still remember it was Boddington's beer, though I don't know why. We sat on the couch, drinking a couple of beers each. I put my arm around her, not to be romantic, but to offer comfort since we were both hurting. My instincts told me she felt something more. I gently touched her arm and sighed, and her sharp breath showed she felt it too. That evening, our feelings came out. We stayed on the couch and shared a close moment. Though I was surprised by my quick reaction, I soon felt a strong connection with her again in a way I had not expected. After that night, we shared a deep, quiet moment together, holding each other close and letting our feelings come out. I never saw her cry again after that night, but just a few days later we were together again. It kept happening. I had been with others before, but no one compared to her energy and the way we connected. Being with her was like discovering something new and exciting, something I wanted more of, not just for comfort, but because it truly felt special. One night I was restless, feeling a strong need inside me. I took off my shorts and listened closely by the wall. I could hear her softly making sounds through the thin barrier. I imagined her quietly comforting herself, moving gently as she liked. Usually I stayed silent during these times, but this time I let out a low sound, knowing she liked hearing my voice. She responded with a bit more noise. I could hear her bed shift slightly. I thought it best to stay quiet with words, but I kept making soft sounds as I calmed myself. Usually I took my time, but being near her awakened something deep inside me. I wanted to let go quickly to release the tension. I felt connected to her even though the wall separated us. When I finally relaxed, I heard her quiet sighs of relief not far behind me. Then the room grew very still. A wave of sadness came over me as I knelt there, breathing slowly and thinking. It had been a long time since I let myself feel so much during these moments, but she still held a special place in my heart and mind. That night, she made it clear she didn't want to be together, but she still felt something, since she needed that closeness after coming home. We only had 2 more nights together in Montreal before we'd go our separate ways, maybe for good. I cleaned up and went to bed feeling sad. I hadn't realized how much I missed her until she showed up again, even if only for a short time. But I couldn't be with her. I thought about texting her, but decided not to. As I fell asleep, I knew I'd have to see her at least one more time before I left on Friday. Wednesday morning, I checked my phone right after waking up, but there were no messages from Amy. I listened carefully while I got ready, hoping to run into her in the hallway, but I didn't hear anything from next door. Maybe she was still sleeping or had already left for the day. My day was filled with interviews at the factory and office in Dorval. I always felt that interviews were a little useless. The top managers were good at avoiding blame or responsibility, and workers or staff who cared about their jobs wouldn't tell an outsider what they really thought. But for me, it was necessary to get a clear idea of how the business worked so I could suggest some improvements. In the past, I had even worked undercover inside companies. That helped me really understand how things ran and what problems they faced. But that was expensive, and this company clearly didn't want me around for long. I already thought my report was just something to calm the board of directors. The management knew they were struggling but refused to take responsibility. They seemed to think they could fix everything on their own without outside help. So for the rest of the week, I focused mostly on understanding the people side of things. Then Tim was going to check the numbers to see if he could find anything useful. I still loved my work when I could make a difference, but most of my clients were like this, too proud to see their own problems and not willing to look closely at what needed to change. This client was just one that paid the bills, nothing more. I was ready to finish and call it a week, but I wanted to get paid in full. Plus, Knowing Amy was just a thin hotel wall away made it hard to leave. Sure, the night we had ended a bit quietly, but I also knew she had listened to me later that evening. Seeing her again brought back many old memories, especially how she never liked to talk about her feelings. I had tried to understand her moods during the months we were together, but she was never easy to read. I guessed I was bringing up old memories for her too, both good and bad. I had a slow day doing interviews that didn't teach me anything new. On my way back to the hotel that night, I thought about texting her, but she beat me to it. "Hi, Michael. Sorry if I seem strange the last few days. It's just been a lot to handle with you suddenly back in my life." "No need to say sorry," I answered. "It's been a lot for me too." She kept going. "If you're free tonight, do you want to grab a drink in the hotel bar or something? I have dinner plans with some friends from the conference, but I should be free by 9. "I'd love to," I replied quickly, smiling. She didn't answer again, so I went back to the hotel, changed into more casual clothes, and headed to a poutine place on Main Street. I had a heavy dinner, then wandered the city for a while until the evening. I got to the bar just before 9 and took a spot at a corner table. I ordered a local wheat beer called Blanche de Chambly and spent about 15 minutes on my phone, waiting. Around 10 past 9, she arrived. She wore fitted dress pants and a blouse that suited her well. I thought again how time had been kind to her. "Sorry I'm late," she said, sitting down. "It took so long to pay at the restaurant." "No problem," I said. "How was dinner?" "Good. I'm really enjoying the conference. It's great meeting women who do what I do. It feels strong and hopeful working in a field mostly run by men, but it can also be lonely." "Got any troubling stories?" I asked. "Not really, nothing worth sharing. Just a lot of small moments of sexism on job sites. But I don't work in new construction. I like house calls and solving problems alone. It's never been hard to find clients who want a skilled woman electrician." "I'm proud of you," I said. "Thanks. How was your site visit today?" I told her about my day while she ordered her drink. Amy always liked beer, and I liked her choice this time, a Belgian-style tripel made nearby called Fin de Monde. "Cheers," I said, raising my glass. "Cheers." "Thanks for coming out tonight," I said. Amy nodded. "You're welcome. Honestly, being here with you has brought back many memories, some hard, but some good too. I forgot how much I enjoyed spending time with you." "I never forgot." I smiled and looked into her eyes. "You never tried to reach out," she said. "We were far apart. What was I supposed to say? I thought about texting you a lot, but it felt like that time was over. I didn't know if you wanted to hear from me." "Yeah, you're right. I never texted you either." She looked up at the ceiling, thinking. "Do you want to know what I've been thinking about since we met again the other day?" "Of course," I said. We never really talked about how all that time made us feel. We talked about work, shared details, but not about the pain. We tried to handle it in our own way, which maybe wasn't the best choice. "You were never one to open up," I said. "Neither am I." She sighed deeply. "I hadn't thought about you or Sergio or that year for a long time. I thought I had moved on." I waited, but she didn't say more. "Had you moved on? Did you think about Lisa or me?" she asked at last. "Lisa, no. You, not often, but more than never." That wasn't quite true. I thought of her more often when I was alone. She nodded and looked at the foam on her beer. "Do you want to tell me about Lisa?" she asked. "Why do you want to know?" "Because no one has asked how you really are for a long time." "You don't know that," I said. "Am I wrong?" She looked into my eyes, and I almost lost myself there again. "No, you're not wrong. Do you have any friends, family, anyone who would care if something happened? My sister and parents and I get along, but I don't see them much." "And otherwise?" I thought for a moment. "No, there isn't anyone. Tim, my business partner maybe, but he's more like a colleague than a friend." "Then think of this as a kindness to a lonely man." She smiled in a teasing way. "Tell me about Lisa. Men don't usually like to talk about these things, but I guess I never stopped caring about you." I thought a while, then drank some beer. "I don't even know where to start, but I do think I've dealt with it. I haven't thought about her in years. I've moved on. I like my job and how I live. I can now look back on our marriage with some happiness, not bitterness. What about you and Sergio? I don't really have much to say either. I dated Sergio for a couple of years and never thought he was seeing other women. I had a lot of good times with you instead of dealing with it like an adult. I eventually got over it and learned to trust people again. The end. You're telling me what happened, but you're not really sharing your feelings, I said. Like I told you, I don't talk about my feelings either, she smiled again. There's a reason we ended up in bed every time we met. Did we ever do anything else? No, because we were scared of being seen together. We never even went out to a place like this after we started seeing each other. We were together for 6 months, and I only have one photo of us. I never deleted it either, Amy added. I couldn't bring myself to. It was a photo taken in bed, both of us lying close after being together for the last time. I knew it was the last time, and I wanted something to remember her by. The photo showed our shoulders up, no nudity, and we both looked sad. The sparkle in her eyes was gone. But even after many years, I was thankful to have that one picture to remind me that it was real. Amy took a deep breath. There are so many layers of hidden pain between us. I moved out west to get away from it, and you almost became homeless. I thought you moved to avoid Sergio and his family and friends. That was part of it, but I was also running from everything else. What we had wasn't healthy, but I knew I could never stop if you were near. You know how, when someone goes to rehab, they have to cut ties with the people who make things worse so they aren't tempted. When were you in rehab? I asked, surprised. Never. I just saw John Mulaney talking about it on his latest Netflix special. Sure. Big rehab girl, Amy Callahan. Quaaludes? Your drug reference is Quaaludes? I know you're old, but I didn't think you were that old. Did you have to sell your old Rambler to get by? She laughed out loud. This is why we've never had a serious talk, I said, smiling. The joking between us is just too easy. Archbishop of Banterbury, that's me. We both took a drink, and I finished mine. The waitress saw and asked if we wanted another. You have to let me buy one round, Amy said. She finished her beer and ordered a couple more for us. You said you were out with other women who do the same work as you. How's that going? I'm feeling good, she smiled again. But I'm not too drunk. I knew I'd be seeing you tonight, so I took it slow. I just had a couple of glasses of wine with dinner. And sorry for interrupting you earlier. You were talking about ending things with your dealer. Yeah, moving out west was about getting away from my bad habits after my breakup. That meant you. Not that you did anything wrong. You didn't. But I knew I couldn't stop seeing you as long as you were around. It was bad for both of us, but it felt so good. It really did. But I did move on, honestly. It's been more than 10 years. I went to therapy, changed jobs, made new friends, and had a serious relationship that could have been the one. You, though. You just ran away. And you're still running. It doesn't seem like you've tried to love again. Where will you be next week? I took out my phone to check. San Diego, I said. Well, that sounds nice. But the Michael I knew, even when you were sad and hurt, had friends, hobbies, and a life. Now, I see the same pain in your eyes as I did 10 years ago when I'd look at you from across the bed. And like I said, because I never stopped caring, I still care about you. You have a good job, and I bet you make a lot of money, but you don't seem any happier than when everything fell apart. Just then, the waitress brought 2 more pints of beer. I tried hard to think over what Amy said. Yeah, you might be right. I took a big drink. Michael, I know Lisa hurt you badly, but will you let her pain stay with you forever? You're a good man. You deserve to be happy. I thought about this for a while, sipping my beer and looking at Amy across the table. Her pale skin glowed softly in the pub light, and those eyes held me completely. I felt caught in her presence again. Thanks for thinking I deserve happiness, at least. Amy shrugged lightly. Anytime. I honestly thought I'd moved on. I hadn't thought about Lisa in years. Maybe that's true, but you can't tell me you live this life because you want to. You're running from something. I know you too well. You haven't seen me in 10 years. How well do you really know me now? You haven't changed, Michael. You're the same man I knew before, in good ways and bad. I can still read you. I could never read you. That's because I'm a mystery, she said with a smile. It's because you keep your feelings well hidden. I'm at least trying to talk about myself. You still avoid the subject every time it comes around to you. Damn it, Detective O'Doherty. You weren't supposed to notice. You haven't changed much either. You still use jokes to hide when things get tough. You still don't want people to see that you have feelings beneath that tough outside. Amy thought about that. Bad timing, but I really need to finish some of this old beer if I'm going to keep drinking the fresh one. Don't put anything strange in my drink while I'm gone, okay? No promises, I said with a smile. She stood up and walked to the bathroom. As she passed me, she brushed her hand over mine, up my arm, and across my shoulder. It was the first time a woman had reached out to me like that since a one-time thing months ago. I didn't expect to feel a little spark inside. Maybe it was the beer. After a few minutes, she came back. Miss me? Don't flatter yourself. Amy laughed softly. Even in the worst times, you always made me laugh. I liked that about you. Talking and hanging out, that's what kept us going. How grown-up of us. We were two grown people handling a hard situation. No mistakes made. You kept tempting me to make bad choices, I said. Ugh, don't remind me. Remember when your roommate was home, so we kissed in that ice cream shop parking lot at midnight, and the police found us? We were lucky we were still dressed. I remember touching you through your jeans at every stoplight on the way back because we were so worked up. Then halfway home, you just took over. You'd think a serious talk with the police would have calmed me down. No luck. I could tell how excited you were while I was driving. I was so focused, I don't know how I didn't mess up. Amy let out a deep breath. I knew her signs well, and for the first time in 10 years, I saw a soft glow come across her pale skin, the small smile, the gentle bite of her bottom lip. I felt the same way too, but it was nice to see I could still tell when she was feeling something. She picked up her beer and took a long drink. We shouldn't talk like this, she finally said. Oh, why not? I asked, pretending to be innocent. You know why. I can't go back. Go back? Back to all of it? You don't miss spending nights making each other laugh and staying up together until the early morning? I don't miss it, she said firmly. She looked straight at me. I don't believe you. You said I never talk about my feelings, and you're right, so here it is. I link our time together with dark, hard memories. You were the only bright spot during that time, and I will always be thankful to you for that. But you were still there during the hardest part of my life. I think it's clear I wouldn't be having a drink with you 2 nights in a row if I didn't want to be near you. Even though you make me smile and laugh and I enjoy remembering old times, I can feel the sadness trying to come back. I spent so long and worked so hard to get away from that sadness. I don't want it back. But you set him the light, I said. Amy reached out and softly touched my face. You were. But now I can be my own light again. And what about us being close? I asked, hoping. She smiled and waved it off. I can handle that on my own, too. I thought about mentioning how we could hear each other through the wall, but I didn't say anything. So what happens now? I asked. Tomorrow you visit your project site and have dinner with the CEO again. I have the gala dinner to finish the conference. On Friday we leave the hotel. I go home. You go to San Diego. We go back to our own lives, but we remember this time as a nice chance to reconnect. We don't wait another 10 years to talk again. I don't mind if you text me, just not right away. Let this week sink in first. And you? You need to move on, Michael. There's more to life than work. Lisa can't hurt you anymore. I don't think it's Lisa. I've moved past her, I said. Well, whatever's been holding you back in your 30s, figure it out and face it. Get help if you need it. Find other things to make you happy. We finished our drinks and paid the bill, then walked to the elevator. It was after 11 and the beer made my head spin. When we got to Amy's door, I pulled her into a long hug. We stood close for a while. I could feel her breathing soft and warm against me, her hair brushing my face. She finally looked up, and without words, we looked into each other's eyes. Slowly, I leaned down, and she leaned up, and we kissed. It all came back so fast, moments we shared, feelings of sadness and joy mixed together. Her lips were softer than I remembered, and I felt a rush of emotion. She stayed close, and I held her gently. After a moment, she softly pulled away, looking up at me. No, no, we can't, Michael. How can it be wrong when it feels this right? She shivered and pulled me close for a moment, then stepped back. I'm going to my room now, so I don't make any bad choices tonight. But this isn't goodbye. You'll see you sometime tomorrow night or Friday before we leave. I promise. I'll look forward to it. Just remember, I am the light. I always was the light, not the darkness. Her eyes suddenly brightened. Too bad you're not the darkness. I believe in something called love. Oh yeah? I could tell from the rhythm of your heart just now. Maybe there's a chance we could make it work now. We'll be singing until the sun goes down. We both sang together, me hitting the high notes. I believe in a thing called love. We laughed out loud. How do you still hit that high note at 40? Amy asked, surprised. That voice of yours, wow. She shook her head. Good night. I kissed her one more time and watched her go into her room. I closed the door behind me, feeling restless. I quickly got ready for bed, but my mind was racing as I lay down near the wall. I thought about Amy and how we had stopped before things went too far. I wanted to ask her to come over to say something, anything except spending the night alone. But I respected her choice. She said no, so I wouldn't push. I hoped she might change her mind, but I didn't want to bother her. I lay on the bed close to the wall and listened. She wasn't usually very loud in moments like this, but tonight it sounded different. I wondered if she was nearby, maybe just on the other side of the wall. I thought about how she might be sitting, lying down, or something else. I could feel a strong feeling building inside me, but I tried to calm down. Her sounds were louder than usual. Sometimes the bed moved gently against the wall. I didn't know what to think, but I stayed still, listening to the quiet sounds through the wall. I remembered from long ago, hidden somewhere in my mind, that Amy sometimes used to move against a pillow when she was alone. I wondered if that was what she was doing now. I imagined her sitting on a pillow, moving quickly, and the thought almost made me lose control. Should I say something? I asked myself. I still wanted to be there with her, but I also knew I wasn't supposed to. I also knew she probably felt as much excitement as I did. Then, the choice was made for me. I reached my limit quickly, and I heard sounds from the other side of the wall a few moments later. The noise stopped suddenly. I grabbed a tissue, cleaned up, and lay back down, still wearing the shirt I hadn't taken off earlier. I looked at my phone for a long time, wondering if I should send her a message, waiting for a sign from her, but nothing came. After about 20 minutes, I decided to get ready for sleep. Lying there, I finally sent a message. Good night, sleep well. She replied, you too. See you tomorrow night, hopefully. With that nice thought, I slowly fell asleep. Thursday, I woke up early that morning. For the first time since I found out Amy was staying next door, I didn't think about trying to meet her right away. She had promised we'd see each other that night, and I trusted her. I took a shower, got dressed, and went down for the car without trying to listen at the wall. I would message her later. Today was my last day working with the client, and I had to make it count. My day was planned as a deep search through old records, looking at the client's money and business papers, trying to understand where they were going wrong. Much of this job was for my partner Tim, whose skill with numbers and details was worth the 49% of the business he owned. But Tim did not like to travel, so our deal was that he worked full-time from home to take care of his kids as a single dad. Most days like this, I spoke with Tim on FaceTime. I showed him the documents I found, and his careful thinking helped me. I often looked forward to these days, especially when I felt lonely, since it gave me a chance to speak with someone. But Tim and I only had a professional relationship. We never became friends, and even if I wanted to share my thoughts about Amy with someone, he wouldn't be the right person. Who could I turn to? I sat quietly in the car, stuck in the morning traffic. Suddenly, I realized something new. I didn't really have any friends left. The people I once called friends, I hadn't talked to in years. After I broke up with Lisa, many of the couples we knew drifted away, even though I heard some had stopped seeing her because of what she did. I never felt lonely until someone told me I didn't have to live this way. Later, I spent the day going through old boxes, lost in my thoughts. I knew Amy would be leaving again tomorrow, and the idea made me very sad. I thought back to the last night we spent together. We shared a close, happy time, like we often had, but there was also sadness because she was packing to move far away. That night was the last time I felt truly happy and peaceful, even though I knew our time was ending. Even though our past relationships were over, we couldn't tell others we were seeing each other. We feared misunderstandings or trouble, so without a clear way to be together, we ended things. I was sad to say goodbye, but I never really thought about trying to stay together. We both knew it wasn't a real option. Since we couldn't be together, it had to end. Then it hit me. It took me 10 years, but I finally saw things clearly. I smiled quietly and hoped the day would end quickly so I could see her one more time. I had something important to tell her. After a long day sorting through archives, I met with the CEO to talk about the report's progress. Then I had a free evening. Another project was done, and a new one was coming next week. It had been years since I'd been to San Diego, and I was actually looking forward to visiting a new city. But first, I had one last thing to do in Montreal. That night, I met Amy at a nice jazz bar on Crescent Street, close to my hotel. I bumped into her just as she was about to go inside, and I almost stumbled when I saw her. She wore a bright red dress that fit her perfectly. She looked stunning. "Wow," I said, trying not to stare. Amy smiled. "I thought you'd like it." We went inside and found a small table near the back. She sat comfortably in a cozy booth while I sat across from her. I ordered my usual drink, a Manhattan, and she chose a gin and tonic. She put her purse down on the small table, and for the first time, I saw she was holding a small plaque. I stopped looking at her and read it. It said, "Women in Trades Canada 2024, Youth Outreach Award, Amy Callahan, Western Canada Region." "Congratulations," I said, feeling happy for her. "Thanks," Amy said with a half smile. "Apparently they already gave awards to all the better candidates, so I got it by default." "Don't say that. I know how much you care about this. Did you know you were going to get it?" "Not at all." Amy smiled softly. "It feels good to know my work is noticed, even if I'm mostly doing this because someone has to." "Your modest words don't fool me, Amy." I stuck out my tongue playfully. "You did great. Besides, who better than you?" "Okay, fine. I really did deserve this. No one was better than me." For my speech, I joked that I read out a list of my opponents for a long time. I stopped for a moment. "You didn't—" "No, silly." She rolled her eyes at me. "But it did mean a lot. It was worth dressing up for the occasion. So the dress wasn't just to impress me?" Amy shrugged. "Don't flatter yourself. The dress was to make some of the workers a little jealous." "Mission done? What do you think?" She smiled and used her hands to gently adjust her dress. "I don't get to dress up often. It was nice to have a reason." "Well, it's a nice thing to be proud of. I'm happy for you. We should celebrate tonight. After how strange things were between us that first morning, it's been nice to spend so much time with you these last few days. I've really enjoyed it." "It has been nice," she said. "I spent a lot of time years ago trying to forget how good I felt around you. It's been nice to remember there was some good in those times. We had some fun together." We spent the next few hours having drinks, talking, and listening to the band play mostly calm jazz songs from the 1950s. The nights before had been a bit hard because of the feelings and tension between us, but tonight felt different, like something new we hadn't had before a simple evening hanging out as friends. I was enjoying her company a lot, trying not to think about us separating again tomorrow night. For once, we felt like two friends spending time together. I missed having that kind of friend. As the night grew late and the bar slowly emptied past 1 a.m., the thought I had earlier was still on my mind. I knew I had to say it now or never. "I have something to tell you," I finally said when there was a pause in the conversation. Amy looked at me, waiting for me to speak. I swallowed hard. "I spent a lot of time alone today, looking through old files at the site. It gave me a lot of time to think about everything that happened this week. Remember how you said yesterday that you thought I never got over Lisa?" She nodded. "I don't think that's true. I went through the pain of losing her back, then the marriage, the child, the life we had. It was hard, but I got through it. You're right that for the last 10 years I felt lost, but it wasn't because of Lisa." I took a deep breath, feeling my heart beat faster. I was lost over losing you." "What do you mean?" she asked, looking at me with doubt. "Back then, I never let myself feel how I really felt, but I cared about you. I got over Lisa, but all the time I had this wonderful friend you who helped me get through everything." My feelings grew quietly, and because I was still dealing with losing Lisa, I didn't realize just how much I cared about you. Since we couldn't be together, I buried myself in work to avoid the pain after you left. I wish I had noticed how I felt at the time, but I guess it took seeing you again to finally understand. Now, I know we are going to go our separate ways again tomorrow, and I don't want to let you go without telling you how I really feel. You told me I needed to move on. Maybe talking about this will help me do that." Amy stared at me, surprised, her mouth slightly open, trying to understand. After a long moment, I said, "Say something?" "How dare you?" she whispered, barely louder than the music in the background. "How dare I what?" "It was 10 years ago, Michael. Whatever I might have felt before, I've moved on. You might not have, but I have. I spent years with a man I loved and planned to marry. I built a life, started my own business, made my own way. I always kept a bit of you in my heart, but I was okay never seeing you again. You belonged to the past, and I was fine with that." "I was fine keeping you in the past, too," I said quickly. "I didn't ask for any of this. I know you didn't plan for us to meet again, but somehow fate put you in the next hotel room, and I had to learn that you're still single, still charming, and still, well, you. Out of 1,000 rooms in this hotel and millions of people in this city, I get placed right next to you, close enough to hear you." "It's been something," I said, cutting her off. She blushed and stopped for a moment, a strange look on her face. "Yeah," she said finally, "it really has." There. I had said it. It was real. "Even if I never see you again after tonight," I said after a short, awkward pause, "what I realize today is that I still care about you. I always have. You meant more to me than just a rebound back then." "I cared about you too," she whispered. "I didn't see it until today. I was too upset before to understand, but what we had was real. It mattered to me, and I can see it mattered to you too." Amy looked at me without saying a word. I reached out and kissed her softly, slowly, and briefly. When I pulled back, I saw her lick her lips. I took her hand and placed it on my chest. Looking into her eyes, I whispered, "I believe in something called love. Just listen to the beat of my heart." Amy laughed, wiping away tears. "Oh, come on," she said with a smile. She gently tapped my face. "Way to ruin the moment, Casanova." "I haven't ruined anything," I said. "I just kissed Amy Callahan again. Life is pretty good right now." I lowered my voice. I think it even made her feel something. "That's not true," Amy said, looking a bit shy. "Don't get full of yourself." "I believe you," I winked. "I promise you, I'm just as calm as ever." She didn't lose her confidence, but couldn't look me in the eyes. I leaned in and kissed her again, this time longer and gentle. I softly bit her lower lip, remembering how much she liked that. I felt her relax against me. When I pulled back, I asked, "How about now?" Amy didn't answer. She blushed and looked toward the band playing. It's rare I feel like I have the upper hand when we tease each other, but the look in her eyes said I won this round. She quickly turned her drink glass upside down and finished it. "Out of curiosity and for no reason at all," she asked, "when was the last time you were with someone, Mr. Alone for a Decade?" I shrugged and told her about the single mother from a few months ago. "What about you?" "It's been about 4 months," she said. "After Dan and I ended things, I was with someone for a bit just to move on. But I haven't been interested in more since. I didn't want to add to my past unless I thought it meant something." "Do you think this could mean something?" I asked, hopeful. Amy thought for a moment. "I don't know. But it wouldn't just be another thing for me. You're already on that list." "Well, I guess I am," I said, smiling. "I was pretty high up there, if I remember right." "Good grief, a legend in his own mind," she teased. "I don't know. I think things were pretty good between us," she said with a deep sigh. "They were. And honestly, it sounds like a smart choice. But I'm worried about what tomorrow might bring." I took a chance and slid into the booth next to her, putting my arm around her. Amy leaned close, resting against me. "I missed this," I whispered. "Me too," she said softly. "We never had the chance to just hang out," I said quietly, "to joke around in public, to act like two people who were together and had no reason to hide it. Can we just for one night pretend? Can we be the way we always wished we could be?" She leaned over and kissed me back, holding it a little longer. I could tell she felt something strong, but I kept my eyes on her face. After a moment, she smiled and said quietly, "We made our whole secret story out of bad choices before. What's one more night?" I looked into her hazel eyes and saw the same spark that had once drawn me in. "My place or yours?" "Doesn't matter," she said as she stood up, grabbed her purse and something else, left a tip on the table, and took my hand as we walked out of the club. We walked the short way back to the hotel in quiet. It was cooler outside now, so I put my jacket around her shoulders. We walked hand in hand across the square toward Lorraine Elizabeth. The night air made her shiver slightly, and I had to fight the urge to get closer. Part of me thought about what we'd just shared, how despite her usual guardedness, I could see she once cared deeply. Yet another part of me was full of nervous excitement, knowing we were about to reconnect after so many years. We reached the hotel lobby and rode the elevator up without saying much. Down the hallway, the quiet between us felt thick with tension. Amy didn't reach for her room key, so I quietly unlocked my door and guided her inside. The light came on as we stood by the entrance, facing each other. We looked at the 10 years we'd lost, the chances missed, and feelings held back. Amy might have moved on with her life, but I realized I never truly had. No matter what would happen tomorrow, I knew I wanted to live fully and rediscover what made life worth living. I owed that much to myself. But first, I wanted to spend one last night with Amy to finally put my feelings for her to rest. Amy handed me back my suit jacket, and I hung it up in the closet. She walked over to the window, looking out over the busy area of Place Ville-Marie across the street. "Your view's about the same," she said. "You moved to the right by maybe 15 feet. Not surprising." "Sometimes a small change in where you stand is all you need," I replied. She smiled and sat down on the wide windowsill. She kicked off her heels, crossed her legs, and looked at me. I took off my shoes, loosened my tie, and opened the top button of my shirt slowly. Then I walked over to her, watching her eyes, knowing there was no turning back now. I reached her, and she wrapped her legs around mine. I leaned in and kissed her once again. I tried to put my arms around her, but she held my hands and pushed me away, keeping her eyes on mine with a playful look. For a moment I thought she was saying no, and I wondered if I had misunderstood. Then memories came back. Amy loved to play fight. I had forgotten how often that was part of how we showed affection. I lifted her down from the windowsill as she laughed, moving her legs in the air. I gently lowered her onto the bed and leaned over her. Amy moved beneath me, using her arms to playfully push me away. She was strong, even for her size, but I had the upper hand. I rested my leg between hers to keep her gently pinned. I noticed how warm she was, and I could feel the space between us heating up as we moved. After a moment, I held her in place, and she breathed hard, her eyes bright and full of life. "I really thought all the time you've spent at the gym would have helped," she said, half joking. "You never wanted to be on top anyway," I answered. "I think you liked being pinned." She moved her hips against me, trying to loosen my hold. "I'm not saying I like being pinned," she said. "I like trying to get free." I took her left hand and held both her wrists gently with one hand, freeing my other hand to softly trace a pattern on her dress. "I'm not stopping you," I said. "You can give up any time you want." "Never," she said, freeing her right hand at last. She grabbed my shirt, starting to undo the buttons. I freed her other hand so she could keep working, and before long she had unbuttoned my shirt, pulled it out of my pants, and tossed my tie across the room. I leaned back a little, took off the shirt, and stopped for a moment, looking down at her. Amy was below me, her eyes on mine. I felt a soft movement against my leg and realized my leg was still tucked under her dress. She was moving gently against my thigh. I reached down and lifted her dress a bit, showing a pair of dark red satin underwear. I moved my leg back slightly and noticed a small damp spot. I touched it softly. "Looks like you already got a little wet," I said. "Haven't you learned about these things? I thought you knew more. You see, when someone really likes someone else." I playfully stopped myself and laid down on the bed, using my strength to roll her on top of me. She ran her fingers through my chest hair, seeming to enjoy the touch, then sat up fully and pulled her dress over her head. Amy's figure was just as I remembered after all these years. I reached up and touched her, thinking about our first night together. Her body felt familiar and comforting, like coming home. "I love the way you look at me," Amy said softly, watching my face. "There's so much for you to see. I never thought I'd see this again." She leaned over, resting her chest against mine, and kissed me again. I felt her weight on me, warm even with the cool air in the room. I could still feel the warmth from where we touched before. I remembered something about her, that she was never quick to rush things when it came to me. She liked to take her time and was always thoughtful. Sometimes she hurried to get her own clothes off, but she rarely took off mine quickly. Feeling inspired, I sat up, lifted her in my arms, and held her as her legs wrapped around mine. I got out of bed carrying her. "This is different," she said quietly. "I don't usually see this side of you." "I've learned a few things since I last saw you," I said with a smile. I carried her to the desk, gently moving my laptop aside, and set her down. I got down on my knees in front of her, looking closely. The damp spot was a little bigger now, and I realized it was time. I gently moved her closer, and for the first time in years I saw her beauty again. My memory of her was clear, but seeing her now felt so real. Her face glowed with a soft blush, and her freckles stood out more than usual. I took in the moment, happy to be near her again. She guided me gently, and I could feel how much she trusted me. Her familiar scent and soft sounds brought back old memories. I moved carefully, wanting to make her feel special, just like before. She smiled above me, surprised. "You've learned some new ways to make me happy," she said, her voice warm. "You were always good, though." I chuckled. "You were never easy to please, but I always tried my best." She laughed softly. "It just takes me a little time, that's all." We shared a quiet moment, lost in the joy of being together again. I felt my heart race, overwhelmed by how much I'd missed her. After a while, she nudged me gently. "My turn now," she said with a playful grin. I stood up, feeling closer to her than ever, ready to keep sharing this special moment. Amy sat quietly, her hands resting calmly, lost in her own thoughts. I'd been thinking about her all week, remembering how close we used to be. After 10 years, seeing her again felt like a dream coming to life. She was older now, but still the same Amy Iddy always cared about. My feelings for her hadn't changed. "Hey, Michael, you there?" Amy waved at me, smiling. "Lost in thought?" "Sorry," I said, grinning back. "Just happy to see you." She laughed softly. "Well, enjoy the moment." I sat down, feeling a mix of joy and surprise. Being with her again felt so familiar, like no time had passed. "It's strange, isn't it? Seeing each other like this?" I asked. She nodded, her eyes warm. "Yeah, it's like stepping back in time." Amy had always been special to me. Nobody else made me feel the way she did. Back then, our moments together were slow and meaningful, building memories that stayed with me. I remembered how easy it was to be with her, how she made everything feel right. Now, sitting close to her again, those feelings rushed back. My heart raced as I looked at her, realizing something big. I loved her. I always had. It hit me hard, and I wondered how I hadn't seen it before. I let Amy work for a while, enjoying the feeling of her lips and hand on me. She looked up at me with those beautiful hazel eyes. I couldn't see everything, but I knew she was still touching herself. She was very focused, her hair messy and her skin glowing red. Even though my feelings were mixed, Amy was so good at what she was doing that I was getting closer to a moment I hadn't had in a long time. I stopped her gently. "Can I be with you?" I asked. She smiled and winked. "I guess." "That's very eager." Amy stood and walked to the window. We had rushed before and hadn't closed the blinds. We were on the 14th floor, so I hoped no one could see us, but I still looked out at the nearby buildings just to be sure. It seemed safe. I put my arm around Amy's waist while she covered herself with her hand. I didn't think you liked showing off. I don't. I just wanted to take a moment to feel this before we get close. What do you feel? I don't know. I looked at her. That sounds deep. I'm an electrician, Michael. You studied literature. Maybe you could write me a poem about it, but I don't know how to say it in normal words. That's fair. But you're happy? Yeah, she smiled. What about you? What are you thinking? He'll tell you later. I didn't want to share too much just yet. And you? What's on your mind? You know I'm not good at feelings, but I was thinking ill close the blind, lean on this window, and then you can be with me from behind. I like your idea. Amy quickly closed the blinds and leaned over. I moved closer and slowly. For the first time in years, we came together. It was better than I remembered. Amy was small, and I couldn't tell how much of me was inside her, but the feelings were strong. Amy was warm and safe, like being at home. Oh, Amy said softly. What? It's been a very long time since I felt this way, and you always seem to find just the right spot in this position. I had forgotten how good it feels, especially with you. A long time? How long? Years, many years. I was surprised. Many years? I don't want to talk about my ex while we're together. All I'll say is Dan was. Not very exciting. And you stayed with him for 7 years? With how you are? Amy turned to look at me, a little annoyed. We complain about our bad exes after, not during. My mistake. I slowly moved closer to her, feeling how she responded to me. Her warmth and closeness were overwhelming. Over the past years, I had often wondered if it was just hope or memory, but now I knew for sure. She was the best I had ever been with. I couldn't find the right words except to say she just fit perfectly with me and felt amazing. I held her hair gently, remembering she liked it, and moved with more energy. She made a low, soft sound that I had heard faintly before. I felt her fingers touch herself as she did the same. I miss this, I whispered. Me too. Pull harder. I held her hair tighter and gently pulled, feeling her move with me. She was quiet, but her breathing was heavy and deep, showing me she was feeling something special. I tried to keep going without rushing because being with her always made things more intense. It had never happened with anyone else, but with Amy, it was different. Michael, please, she said quietly. It's been so long since I felt this way. You were the best I ever had, I said without thinking. Same here. I forgot how good you were. I never forgot. She looked at me with a new kind of look, something I hadn't seen before. I lied a bit. I never forgot either. Suddenly, she stopped and stood up when I moved away. Lie down, she said. I want to be with you like before. Yes. I lay back and Amy climbed onto me, guiding me gently. She began moving quickly, her energy strong. Her hands held my chest as she moved with power and speed. Her face was flushed from the effort, and the sight of her was amazing. If she kept this up, it wouldn't last long. Michael, do you remember what you said about my cowgirl skills back then? She asked with a smile as she slowed down, like she knew I couldn't take it much longer. I thought back, thankful for the small break. No, I'm sorry I don't. You said I moved like a super excited schoolgirl. I felt a little embarrassed inside. I hope you weren't upset. I was, a bit, back then. But you weren't wrong, I do, or at least I used to. Because honestly, this is something I haven't done in a long time. Years? She nodded, looking sad. Probably. I'm likely a little out of practice. I hope that's okay. Trust me, you haven't lost any skill. Thanks. I feel like I should be rusty, but... She stopped. But we still fit together, I asked. She nodded. You're easy to get excited with. With that, she picked up the pace again, moving quickly, and it sent me toward the edge. I tried to focus on the ceiling and walls, thinking about anything but being with Amy, who was moving above me like a wild ride. Are you close? I asked. Not really. Then give me a break and come up here. I gestured to my face and Amy stopped, quickly moving to sit over me. I felt both relieved and a little disappointed for the short pause. I was only seconds from losing control, but I wanted to last until Amy was ready. Sometimes I hadn't been able to wait before when we were together, but usually I did pretty well. Besides, as someone who didn't usually have many quick moments, I liked to wait and enjoy the time. She settled over my face, and I could taste her as she moved. She held onto the headboard and kept moving with energy, lost in her own pleasure and not caring about anything else. I was fine with it, too. I wanted to remember this moment forever, her scent, her taste, feeling close like this. I don't know how long she stayed there, but it was a good few minutes. I could feel her clearly and hear her heavy breathing above me. My hands touched where I could, mostly her hips, sometimes touching myself just enough to stay focused, but not to lose control. After a little while, Amy spoke from above me. "I'm getting close, Michael, and I'd rather share this with you than any other way." She stopped moving and rolled off me, lying on her back near the edge of the bed. I sat up and moved between her legs. I lifted her left leg onto my shoulder and moved closer to her. I felt a strong connection, and she looked up at me with those hazel eyes, soft and full of feeling. I knew I was touching something special every time I moved. Her fingers gently moved, and soon she let out a quiet sound, her body shaking a bit. I could feel her strong grip, and then I felt my own emotions rise quickly. Afterward, I lay down on top of her, letting her rest without pushing too hard. We stayed close, feeling each other's breathing and the warmth between us. It was a quiet moment, her heart slowing, and I enjoyed just being there. After some time, I moved away gently. Amy smiled softly, stretched, and then came back into my arms. She wrapped her arm around me and lightly touched my chest. I noticed how close she was, and even that small closeness made me feel something deep inside. She was as charming as ever. "Thoughts?" I asked softly. "Some bad choices made tonight," she said with a small laugh. "But no regrets?" "Not yet. It was good just like before." "Me too. After all this time, it's like we never missed a beat." "That's what makes it tricky," she said with a quiet breath. We lay still for a moment. "So what's the story with your ex being a missionary type with the lights off?" I had to ask. She sighed. "He was a pretty quiet, serious kind of guy." "And you stayed with him all that time?" "Yeah, after you, I wanted something safe and simple. Dan was just that. My parents liked him. He fit into my life. But he never made me feel the way you do." "It's nice to know him the best you ever had," I said with a small smile. Amy laughed softly. "You really think that, don't you? It's strange we haven't lost anything. It almost feels like we were meant to be," I said, hoping. "We never really had the chance before. We still don't. This is just for one night, like old times, okay?" I looked into her eyes again. "Well, I'm not sure how to say this, but you remember at the club earlier I told you I had feelings for you back then?" She looked at me and then looked away. I knew this was coming. "It wasn't just feelings, and it wasn't just a crush. I loved you. This week has made me see. I didn't realize it until tonight, but I still love you. I never stopped." Amy quickly moved away from me and sat up in bed. "No," she finally said quietly. "What do you mean, no?" She looked straight at me. "I can't." "Can't what?" "I can't go back." "I don't understand. Go back to what?" A tear rolled down her cheek. "I didn't move to BC to get away from Sergio, Michael. I moved there to get away from you." My heart froze. "What?" I said, shocked. "I moved on from Sergio, just like you moved on from Lisa. It was hard being cheated on, but we had each other and we moved forward. We helped each other heal, but both of us knew there was no real chance for us to be together. We were just getting over someone else, and there were many reasons why we couldn't be together. Still, that didn't stop me from falling in love with you." "What?" I said again, staring into her deep hazel eyes. Amy was trying not to cry. "I loved you, Michael. 10 years ago I fell for a man I could never have, so I ended it and ran away. I never got over you. You helped me get over Lisa. But losing you hurt too much. I tried to tell myself all the reasons we couldn't be together and why you had to move west, but my heart never agreed. I've been running from these feelings for 10 years. This week made me see I have always loved you. I still do." Amy shook her head. "I really thought I had gotten past this, but the moment I saw you Monday morning in the hallway, it all came back. I love you too. I never stopped." I moved my arm to pull her closer. She hesitated. What's wrong? I asked. If you come back, I won't let you go. You never have to. I invited her again. Amy took a deep breath and lay back down, resting her head on my shoulder. I don't know if this is a good idea, but I've never been able to say no to you. I think it's a good idea. Should we talk about how to make this work? No. She smiled a little. It's after 2 a.m. We're both a little drunk, and I don't want to talk about mixing our lives right now. Just say goodnight and turn out the light. Tomorrow is a problem for tomorrow. Tonight, at least, we're together again. I leaned over and turned off the light. One night only. Live in concert. Amy made a frustrated sound. I can't believe I ever liked a boring old man like you. Tisk, tisk. Hey, I'm pretty cool and good-looking. I don't blame you at all. She gently tapped my face, then leaned in and gave me a kiss. Good night, Michael. I love you. I love you too. Amy fell asleep quickly, but I stayed awake in the dark. I listened to her slow breathing, feeling her close to me, warm and safe. Amy cared about me. Part of me could hardly believe it. But we hadn't said for sure that we wanted to be together. She had avoided the topic when I tried to talk about it. I wanted to talk about our future, to understand how we could share a life. I wanted to stay awake all night and not waste a single moment of our time. But I told myself that was a problem for tomorrow. Tonight might be the best night of my life. No matter what tomorrow brought, I wanted to remember how happy I felt right now. Friday, we didn't set an alarm and woke up well past 9:30, still wrapped in each other's arms. Morning light peeked through a crack in the blinds. Amy groaned, rubbing her sleepy eyes. I loved how she looked tired but still naturally beautiful. Good morning, she whispered, her voice rough. I can't believe we overslept. What time is your train? I already missed it. No big deal, though. I can catch the next one. The hotel is right by the station, so I won't have to spend time traveling. What time is your flight? 1:30. Between getting to the airport and being there early, you'll need to leave in about an hour. Plus, checkout is at 11 anyway. Guess we'd better get up and shower. Want to go first? I asked. All my stuff is in my room, remember? I only brought a red dress and underwear I really don't want to put back on, she said with a small blush. Right. Amy got out of bed, grabbed her dress, and put it on so fast I barely had time to think that maybe I wouldn't see her like that again. She shoved her underwear into her purse and picked up her heels. I really need the bathroom. I'm going to shower in my room and start packing. Suddenly, I felt a small panic inside. This isn't goodbye, right? No, of course not. Women take longer to get ready anyway, so go shower, and once you're dressed, come to my room. I'll leave the door unlocked after my shower. She turned and left, and just like that, my room was empty again. I got up, used the bathroom, and took a quick shower. I had packed some comfortable clothes for the train ride home, so I put on jeans and a t-shirt, brushed my teeth, and put on deodorant. Then I packed my suitcase and laptop. After living out of bags for so long, packing was easy for me. I walked to Amy's room with my bags and tried the door. It was unlocked, just like she said. Amy was in the bathroom, wrapped in a towel with another one around her wet hair, putting on her makeup. I came in and sat on the closed toilet seat so we could talk. So what now, my friend? Amy groaned. You're so lame, I laughed. You love my lameness. And that makes me lame too. Not sure which is worse, she said, carefully putting on mascara. But really, what do we do with the next half hour? My quick answer is we should spend some time together again, Amy said without looking away from the mirror. I nodded. I was ready. But there are so many things we never got to do together, Amy said softly. Being close like this feels kind of expected, even if it's very us. I could write a list of all the things I always wanted to do with you but never did, I said quietly. Mostly, I don't want to leave anything unfinished today. I don't want this to be goodbye, but if it is, I want to leave with some kind of closure, the kind I never had before. We never really got the chance to be a real couple no matter how we both felt. But what chance do we have now? You live all over, and am settled in Kelowna. Maybe this week was just to help us say goodbye and move on for good. I don't want to move on, I said softly. Our eyes met in the mirror. Neither do I, Amy said. Then why don't we try to make it work? How do you suggest we do that? I asked. I can live anywhere. My apartment is month to month, and I can leave when I want. Home has never really been a place for me, just a spot to keep my things. So why don't I come to Kelowna after I finish with work in San Diego? I've worked hard for years so I can take a break for a couple of months. That way we can see if this really could work. If it does, Kelowna can be my base instead of Toronto. It even has an airport. Amy finished her makeup. She took off the towels and hung them up. She was there in front of me again, and I felt that familiar excitement seeing her. She left the bathroom and I followed. She went to her suitcase and pulled out jeans and a V-neck shirt. She got dressed while I watched, quietly remembering every detail, just in case it was the last time. I didn't want to forget anything about her. "I have to go home today," she said at last, zipping up her jacket. "I don't have any clean clothes left." "Me neither." She sat down on the bed next to me. "Can we take a picture of us?" she asked. "Just one where we look a little happier?" "Of course." I took my phone and snapped a quick selfie of us. Then I sent it to her. A moment later, a message came back from her with an address in West Kelowna. "What's this?" I asked. "When you finish in San Diego, come see me." "Well, try to make this work." Amy sounded unsure, but she looked me straight in the eyes when she said it. I hugged her tightly. "Thank you. I'll be there. Relationships based only on fun don't last, you know." "What about ones based on fun and bad jokes?" Amy smiled softly. 10 years ago, I thought our story was finished. I've spent most of the time since trying to forget it, but no matter what happens next, I want you to know I don't regret adding another page to our story this week. This has been the best week of my life. "Wow, that's sad if that's true," she laughed. Then she pulled me close, and we shared a long, warm kiss. Later, we stood outside the Queen Elizabeth Hotel. Amy called a taxi from the stand nearby. The driver took her bag, and we hugged quietly. "Goodbye for now. See you in a week." "I can't wait." I kissed her once more. Amy got into the taxi. It drove away, and she was gone. I turned and walked back into the hotel, heading down to the train station below. I had a long ride home and planned to use the time to finish my report. I hadn't had much time to write in the evenings this week, and I still wanted to finish before I got home. 2 days from now, I'd be back at the airport. I had looked forward to returning to the sunny weather of San Diego, but now I didn't want to go. I opened Air Canada's website on my phone and quickly changed my return flight from Toronto to Kelowna. There. It was set. I sent the confirmation to Amy. My phone buzzed again as I held it in my hand. We had never said anything like this before, but now we were free. So I wrote back, "I love you, Michael O'Doherty. I love you, Amy Callahan." "I believe in love," I typed quickly. She sent back, "Guitar. That's going to be our song," I said softly. "It's nice to have a song like that." What would happen next? I didn't know, but somehow I felt ready to find out. For the first time since I went into the maternity ward with Lisa 10 years ago, I felt hopeful about the future. No more wasted years, I told myself. I was ready to feel love again. I still believed in something called love. The song, "I Believe in a Thing Called Love," is by The Darkness, made in 2003 by Hawkins and others. It is mentioned here following the rules of fair use under Canadian law.